Hi, welcome to Tag Arcade. And in this tutorial, this is going to be part one to show you how to remap the controls for my game. So I'm going to resume from my car prototype from my video when I gave you the tip on C# versus JavaScript. So I'm going to go ahead and clean up some of the codes. So let's go ahead and delete the car moves because I created a JavaScript version versus a C# version. And we don't really need two scripts for the same thing. And I'm going to rename this from C underscore car move to just car moves. And then let's go ahead and open it and clean up the scripts there. Okay. So on the top of the class, I have to match the name of the class to the to the file name, or else it won't run. So I'll go ahead and clean up my code. And you feel free to copy the code down and pause the video sort of toward the end of when I clean up the script. I'll let you know when you can pause the video. So I'm just going to delete some unnecessary stuff. And I'm also going to clean up some of my debug messages as well. Okay. So here's the code that's cleaned up. So for the start, it's this code. For the update, it's over here. And for the NAS toggles over here. So like I said, go ahead and go pause the video if you need to write everything down. For everyone else, let's go ahead and continue. So I want to show you what happens in this demo. So if you press the up or down arrow, the car will move back and forth. And if you do left and right, the car moves back left and right. If I turn on the NAS, the car simply moves a whole lot faster. Now the thing is, not only do I want to be able to turn on the NAS by clicking on this button, I also want to turn it on by pressing a button on the keyboard as well. So let's go ahead and go back to the car move and sort of add that functionality. So if I press the letter N, which is this, I want to toggle my NAS. Let's toggle the NAS. Save. So now if I go back and hit play, and I press N, you'll actually see that the NAS is toggling off and on extremely quickly. And sometimes it's really hard to sort of just toggle it off and on. So to remedy that, we only want to detect the button press of N when you press it down, not continuously like when you're holding it down. So to fix that, we'll change this to get button down. And let's go ahead and try this again. So now if we hit play and hold input button N is not set up. Really? Okay. Let's go back. Oh, not get button down. Sorry. Get key down. Okay, get key down. And we'll do this again. So hit play. So that if we press the N key, it's not flickering between on and off. So in order to turn it on or off, you actually have to let go of the N key and press it again. So that fixed that problem. So now what we want to do is we want to separate the controls out of the car so that we could configure it later on. So to do that, let's go ahead and create a new script and call it controls. Okay. So let's go ahead into our control script, reload all. And within it, I'm going to say public key code up, public key code down, public key code left, public key code right. Let's use all this lowercase. And last but not least, public key code NOS. So this will hold the key code for the up, down, left, right, and NOS functionality. Save. Okay, gonna hit save. And that star is not going away, huh? How about save all? There we go. That's weird. Okay. So in order to use this control function, we do have to create an empty game object to reference it. So I'm just gonna name this, say, oops, button controls. How about sub button controls? We'll call it car controls. And I'm gonna drag controls to here. So now for the up, we'll do, I'm just gonna press the letter U a few times to get to up arrow. Letter D a few times to get to down arrow. There you go. Same thing for left, right, and NOS. Okay. Now let's go back into our car move script. So in order to do this, we want the car move script to be able to find the control script. So to do that, we have to create a new variable so that we can find it. So we're going to say controls, which is the name of our new class right here, controls, and we'll call it car controls. Why not? Now we got to say for our car controls, we have to find where it is in our scene. So we're going to say game object dot find. And what do we name our game object? We named our game object right here car controls. So we're going to copy this and put it back into our script. Dot get component controls. Okay. So that way our car move scripts could find the control script. The other way of creating this is you could have it say car controls dot get component, and instead of the brackets, we could do parentheses controls, close parentheses, as controls. These two scripts do exactly the same thing. They're just two different ways of writing the exact same line of code. So feel free to use whichever line of codes you would like to use. And now, let's go over here and say, for our car controls, dot up. And then we'll say, car controls, dot down. Same thing for left. Right. And NAS. Okay, wonderful. So let's go ahead and hit play. And now if we do up, down, left, right, it all works perfectly. Press the N key, moves it around too. And now we can change our controls. Maybe we don't want up. Maybe we want W instead. Down could be S. So where's the letter S? Oh, I must have missed it. There you are. Left, maybe the letter L. Or the letter A, I should say. Where's the... Oh. That's the letter A. Right, it could be my letter D. So it's the letter D. And NAS could just stay NAS. So now if you do WSAD, it will move around as well. And yeah. Okay. So this is pretty much prepping the script so that we could modify it with the configuration screen. But I know from writing this that we actually have to make the controls a little bit better. Since we're going to use for loops, we want to be able to control or to modify the up, down, left, right by using loops so that we don't have to rewrite the same scripts over and over and over again. So let's go ahead and do that. So let's go back into our controls, and instead of having each of these be up, down, left, right, let's go ahead and create a grouping. We'll just call this grouping, say, buttons. Okay. And we'll save that. And now I'm going to get a lot of error message that there's no longer a definition for up. So let's go ahead and correct this. So since I renamed it to buttons, we got to say dot button. So we're going to say my 0 button is up. And let's just go ahead and copy this. And we'll say 1 is down, 2 is left, 3 is right, and 4 is NAS. Okay, so button 0 is up, down, left, right, NAS. Save. Okay. Now if we go back into our car controls, we have all our buttons. So we have to say we have 5 buttons that we need. And once again, we'll just do up arrow, down arrow, left arrow, right arrow, and just the letter N. There we go. Okay. So once again, if you hit play, same effect. Now the thing is, it's actually very bad practice to name this 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 because it's not descriptive enough. If we look back at the script later on, we might forget 0 is up. We might forget 1 is down, so on and so forth. So this is very bad practice. Instead, we should actually work with what is called enums. So with enums, it will give us that functionality, but to give it a proper name. So we're going to call this enum button actions, and we're going to call it the same things of what the commands are. So we'll call it up, down, left, right, and NAS. What that will allow us to do is instead of calling this 0, we'll call this button action. Actually, we gotta call it car controls first. Or not car controls. Oops. We're gonna call it controls because controls is the name of our script. Dot button. Oh. I guess we do have to call it car controls. Sorry about that. Button. Oh. Did I? Button actions? Oh, I know why. I actually need to call this public in order for my other script to access it. So let's do this properly. Controls dot button actions dot up. So now we have an error message that we can't explicitly convert this. So we have to just say parentheses int close parentheses to convert this enum back into an integer. In this case, 0. So we're gonna copy this portion of it and do the second part. Dot down. Gonna do it again. Dot left. Dot right. And dot NAS. Okay. So what this will let us do is instead of this being 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, it will tell us right up front what each button is. Now I know that when I press the up button, it'll do this function. And when I press the down button, it'll do the second function, so on and so forth. So this is a lot more meaningful name than 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that is exactly why enums came about. And as you could see here, then yeah, everything stayed the same. Now, the other thing I do not like is when you look at this, you get element 0, element 1, element 2, 3, and 4. I sort of don't like this naming convention. So to remedy that, you can actually create a new class. So I'm going to create a class, and I'm just going to call it button info. Within button info, you actually don't need any of this. So the very first one, I'm going to call it public name. Oops. Sorry, public string name and public key code. Public key code, I guess, key. Hit save. And now let's go ahead and go back to our controls. So instead of calling it key code, we'll call it button info. Hit save. Okay, so right now I couldn't find the namespace button info. And Okay. So since I can't find the namespace button info, I'm just simply going to close Visual Studio and reopen it. And that should help it. So now button info is named. Wonderful. So within here, so now, let's see, button. Okay. So now we gotta add that key to everything. Okay. And the reason being is within our button, we now have two different names. One is name and one is key. So that is why when we looked at our script for the car moves, we just had to add the .key function to it. Okay. And now the benefit of that is if we go to the car controls. Okay, so it looks like we can't actually modify the controls. And the reason being is we didn't modify the button info to be exposed to the variables, or to be exposed within Unity. So to expose it within Unity, you have to type in system.serializable, if I spell system correct. Okay. Now if you do that, and go back to our car controls, now that exposes the button information so that we could modify it within Unity. So now instead of element 0, it will go ahead and take the name of whatever I type in here. So my name is now called up instead of element 0. And I'm just going to keep on doing it for the rest of the script. And once again, let's go ahead and say up, down, left, right, and end. So we could close all of these, and we'll hit play. And now, we can move this, can I go down? Wait, no. Apparently my down I mapped it to P by accident. So let's go. Let's go down arrow. Okay. So let's try it again. Up, down, left, right. Okay. So up, down, left, right, and the NOS. Okay. And that's it for the first section. So we prepped all of this so that we could do the second part with the remapping the controls. So if you like what you hear, or like what you see, go ahead and like, subscribe, and all the good stuff. And at some point, I'll go ahead and create part 2. Till next time, have fun and keep on creating games.